Now, here's something simple you can do right now to support your health. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Every week, I share reliable, no-nonsense medical advice with my guests that could help you too. We all deserve healthcare we can rely on, so take that simple step right now. Click, subscribe, and take the next step to better health and well-being. My guest today is one of Britain's best-known sopranos. For more than 30 years, she's performed with the world's finest opera companies and orchestras, wowing fans and audiences across the globe. She was awarded a CBE in the 2002 New Year's Honours List for services to music and is a Fellow of the Royal Academy of Music. Welcome, Lesley Garrett. Lesley, hello.
Thank you. It's very good to be here.
And we last met at that Remembrance Day, didn't we? Do you remember with you and Peter, your husband?
Yes, that was wonderful, wasn't it?
That was a great day, just rewarding people for every effort that the healthcare professionals had put in to COVID.
The National Arboretum.
That's correct. Yeah, it was a lovely day. And we heard from people who'd made sacrifices and lost loved ones, but it was a celebration of the overwhelming response to a global pandemic. And it was lovely. Lovely to meet you there and Peter as well. So how are you? How's your health?
My health's fantastic, actually, though it hasn't been always since I saw you last.
I'm sorry to hear that.
I'm in fine fettle now.
Good. Well, we'll come on to your health in a moment, if we may, whatever you're prepared to talk about. You've obviously got someone there to look after you very well in Peter. But your career has just been amazing. I mean, you've sung, you've performed, you've broadcast, you've been all around the world, wowing audiences, as I said in the introduction. Do you have a favourite venue or a favourite album? Can you pick out one from the multitude of successes you've had?
That's a difficult question. But since you refer to my husband, who I don't know if people know, he's also a doctor, Dr. Peter Christian.
Yeah.
We made a pact, I think, once our children came along, that if I did work overseas, that I would always take them with me. And one of my most memorable times is when we all went to Australia. And I sang in the Sydney Opera House, which was absolutely wonderful. I did a series of concerts, which I'm pleased to say sold well. And then I basically spent the entire fee on taking the family for a holiday on the East Coast, up to Cairns. We went on the Great Barrier Reef, and we had such a fantastic holiday.
Bet. Did you go to the Whitsundays?
No, we didn't manage to get to the Whitsundays. We didn't have time, but we did see a lot of other wonderful, wonderful things. That's an important memory for me because I've always tried to involve my family in what I do. It wasn't long after that I decided to refocus my career and basically try and make my work in the UK because I couldn't bear to be away from my kids and Peter, and it was beginning to be just too much, really, that I just going away for recitals and so forth was I couldn't bear it, and I couldn't take them to everything.
No.
So that's when I diversified my career. Up till that point, I think I'd just been up to my sort of early 40s. I'd just been a straightforward opera singer. And then I diversified. I had the opportunity to go into television and to make recordings. In fact, the the week that I met Peter was extraordinary because it coincided with my very first piece of television and my first record deal. But by the time the kids came along, which was very soon after I met him, because we met quite late, I was already 35. So I said, "Right, kids, come on." And we got two in just under the wire. But I just then concentrated on singing at home. And so my favourite place of all to sing, well, there's two favourite places actually I have to sing. The English National Opera is the Colosseum is my home from home because I was a principal soprano there for so many years. But you know what? The best acoustic, this is a bit of a well-kept secret, the best acoustic in the whole of Britain is the Huddersfield Town Hall.
Is it? Who knew?
You wouldn't know that, would you?
You wouldn't.
I love to sing there. Absolutely.
Oh, brilliant. And of course, Glyndebourne as well, amongst many other festivals.
I'm everywhere.
Oh, you have. And you mentioned the TV career as well. And one of your bits of TV was the genealogy documentaries that you made. Who do you think you are? And it was very interesting to find out that your family goes right back into classical music. Your grandfather and great grandfather. Tell us about them.
Well, it was very interesting doing that programme, Who Do You Think You Are? In fact, it was in 2004, so it's a little while ago, but it was an extraordinary year for me because I remember I did the very first Strictly Come Dancing. That was at the beginning of the year.
Yes.
And then immediately, back to back, I went on to do the very first Who Do You Think You Are? I suppose I was kind of current in those days, which was great. I had my own TV series, and so the BBC knew who I was, and that I could stand on my hind legs and talk. and so I got to do both of those extraordinary programmes. But Who Do You Think You Are was amazing. I was hoping against hope that I'd got some exotic relatives from Istanbul or somewhere, and we found that my most exotic relative was from Nottingham.
Oh.
I'm basically Yorkshire through and through. If I was a stick of rock and you cut me in half, it would just say Yorkshire. There's nothing else. Which is why I love singing in Yorkshire. It's one of my favourite places to sing. But we discovered all kinds of things. Yes, as you say, I have music in my history. Both my grandfathers. One was an amateur musician, one was a professional musician. My granddad Garrett, on my dad's side, was a dance band leader. He was a railway worker, like my dad and my mum. But he had his big passion was his band, and it was called Arthur Garrett and the Blackout Boys. And it obviously existed from 1942. But it kept going. But my granddad on my other side, my mum's father, my granddad Wall, he was a fabulous pianist, really fabulous pianist. He couldn't go down the pit because he had asthma. And he had what they called a weak chest in those days.
Yeah.
So his father, my great-grandfather, said, right, lad, if there's not going down the pit, they'll be put to piano. Those glorious days, making music was the second best way of earning a living in Sheffield, where that side of the family came from, after the pits. So my granddad was a fine, fine pianist, and he had the chance to go to London to study to become a concert pianist, but he wanted to stay in Yorkshire, and he got work in the silent movies. And he composed the music and played it for the silent movies.
Fantastic. Well, I'm glad he had fingers left after working down pit, to be able to play the piano. That was good. And did I read somewhere that he travelled and played music for soldiers during the First World War?
No, not my granddad Wall was actually, he worked because of his weak chest, he couldn't go overseas. So he was on what you call the hospital boats.
Yes. Yeah.
Which was a horrible, horrible job.
Okay.
He was responsible for caring for the men who came back into Dover who'd been very badly injured.
Yes.
But you're probably thinking about Grandad Garrett, because his Arthur Garrett and the Blackout Boys band did play for soldiers.
Oh, excellent.
So I think that's who you're thinking of.
Okay. And you mentioned that opera was maybe your first love, and then you went into what they call crossover music. So you've sung with people like Brian Ferry and Mick Hucknell, and you've done some.
I would never call it that. I hate the term crossover. It sounds
I've never heard of it.
It's just an awful term. I hate it. It's just great music, and if I can bring something to the music, because that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Does it suit me? Can I express the composer's intention, whether that composer is a pop performer, like a pop composer, like Sting, for instance. I sing Sting's music. I think his wonderful music. I sing his Fields of Gold in every concert performance I ever do.
Yes.
But the important thing, I think, Hilary, is finding the right quality of sound for each individual composer, not for each kind of category of music. I hate these dividing lines people put in between music. I mean, because it all comes back to the mothership, which was opera.
Yes.
I mean, the music theatre and operetta or any kind of music drama comes from opera. That was where it all started. So it's all relatable.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't sing, for instance, Bach like I sing Tchaikovsky. So I wouldn't sing, I don't know, Sondheim like I sing Verdi. I mean, you just have
Sure.
to find the right quality of sound for
Sure.
that composer.
And how did you first get into opera? How old were you when you first started to sing?
I've asked my parents this, and they can't remember a time when I didn't sing. I just always sang.
Lovely.
It was how I connected with myself. It was I think from a very early age, I recognised the health benefits of singing. And it's something I talk about a lot now, that when I sang, I felt happy. When I sang, I felt connected with my environment, although at the age of sort of 2, I didn't realise that was what it was. But it was just the way I expressed how I felt. It's the way I kept in touch with who I was. And it always has been. If I'm not singing, I'm not who I am. I don't know who I am, actually. It's as important to me as that. But I reckon I'm doing a piece of work at the moment, which I'd love to tell you about if you have time. I was asked by the Bradford City of Culture, Bradford, the UK City of Culture this year, and they wanted to form a choir to sing opera, and they asked me if I'd help them and be their ambassador. And so we put out and they wanted to involve a set of people that were not known for their involvement in opera, but nonetheless known for the need for singing. So we approached the Bradford City Football Club fan base. Now they're called the Bantams, the football club fans.
Right.
Known as the Bantams. And we put out a call, who would like to come and learn to sing opera with Lesley Garrett? And we're going to call the choir, when we make it, the Bantam of the Opera Choir.
I love it.
And we got 500 people wanted to come.
Really?
And we've made this fantastic choir. We only needed 50, so unfortunately there were quite a few disappointed people. And we've gone everywhere together and sung the BBC, for everything you can imagine, on the pitch at Midland Road. And the one thing that everybody is saying, because we've got a really good WhatsApp group going now, is that their health has improved.
Wow.
That they and I've said this all my life. I mean, as you know, Peter, my husband, who's a doctor, he used to prescribe to his patients. He used to say, look, if they came with depression or feeling, down, he'd say, seriously, you should think about joining a choir, because it will lift your spirits, it will revive your soul. And that's what it does. And that's what all my bantams are telling me, that they are just feeling so great, because not only are they now part of a group and doing something that they feel really matters, and it does,
and doing it together.
They're doing it together, and they are forming friendships. And
Yes.
also physically, if you take a breath, Henry, to make sound, it's not like a breath you take to speak or to whistle. It's a really significant breath. Because you're going to make a sound which is going to make music. You're going to make music with this air that you've just taken in. So it gives it a real power and a real sense of authority, and that all of those are powerful,
Absolutely.
good factors. They're all good for wellness, these famous words we all use now.
Yeah, and people talk about singing for the treatment of snoring, to sharpen up the muscles at the back of the throat. I know. Yes, and some music therapy we talk about. So not just good for psychological and mental well-being, but physically as well. I mean, people talk about box breathing to get them to sleep. It's all part of the vagus nerve. It calms you down, and really does work. I've been doing it lately, and it really does work.
English National Opera, who are my favourite opera company in the world, my home company, have got a wonderful programme called Breathe. And Welsh National Opera also have a programme called their wellness programme. And opera companies generally, increasingly, are introducing programmes. This happened during COVID, of course, to help people with their breathing. And there is no doubt whatsoever that singing, and it doesn't have to be at the grand opera level, any kind of singing, that involves moving the intercostal muscles, getting the ribs to move, getting the diaphragm to release and to support. Anything like that is health giving, and will help perhaps COPD or any chronic illnesses.
Absolutely. And I think you were on Strictly Come Dancing, weren't you? You mentioned that you came third. Did you come third?
I did.
With Anton, was it?
I'd never danced before in my life.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I have the great benefit of Mr. Dubeck.
Yes.
I did have Anton, who, as I think I famously once said, every woman in the world should have 10 minutes with Anton Dubeck. He's such a great dancer, but he's also such fun, and he really lifts his spirits.
Yeah.
So that was a great experience.
And are you still doing your show on Classic FM?
No, I'd moved on from that. I tend to do things for a certain amount of time, and then I need a new challenge. You know, I'm a bit like that. But Classicum is one of my very favourite radio programmes. Really, really do love everything they do. Yeah, it's all about getting music into the community. I'm a powerful advocate for music being part of society, a vital part of society.
Yes.
This is why, in a way, we went to footballers for my Boto, Bantam of the Opera Choir in Bradford, because they naturally sing on the terraces. And my experience is that music in that way is everywhere in our society if you look for it, and needs to be. It's where I learnt my music. It's where I learnt my connection to this other world, because there's something magic about music. We all feel it.
Of course.
Everybody
absolutely.
feels good about music when they listen, or good about themselves when they listen to music. It's how you express emotion when you're struggling, you know?
And it always amazes me that I've got a collection of vinyls, and I can play a vinyl I haven't heard for 20 years.
Yes.
And you suddenly, know all the words.
Yes.
I mean, in terms of memory, and for people with cognitive decline and dementia, music's really helpful for them as well, isn't it?
Absolutely. Again, another charity that I help, called The Lost Chord. It employs young singers and musicians to go into Alzheimer and dementia care homes and play for the residents there, and the dramatic difference it makes to the residents it's almost miraculous, because, as you know, dementia is a physical disease as well as a mental one, and often the patients will be curled up in a fetal position because, you know, they are just so lost to the world, and you'll start to sing a song and they'll start that they know that they can remember in this part of their brain that we still don't understand, and they'll uncurl and start to listen and start to interact with their surroundings, and then, you know, on a really good day they'll join in and they know the words, because I've had experiences firsthand of seeing people who can't even remember their children's names knowing the words to an old war song.
Incredible, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think I read that there's in Plymouth University there was a young man who was doing a PhD on early onset Alzheimer's, where he set a series of tasks to music to a tune that the person involved knew, and if they sang this list, they would remember every single task.
Wow.
That there is this massive link between music and memory. I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I think there's so much more to learn, don't you?
Absolutely. Now, you talk about the Bantams and the terraces. Of course, you've performed at Wembley, the old Wembley and the new Wembley, with Sarah Brightman, and others. You know, how was that?
Oh, that was one of the best experiences of my life.
Was it?
I mean, you know, it's lovely just talking to you, Hilary. Very nice indeed. But when you've got 93,000 people singing with you, now that's a date. And I just absolutely love it. It's about community and community singing and community experience and sharing emotions communally. I think it's what binds us together.
Absolutely.
Gives purpose. It's all part of the same message in a way, or the same song. You know, if you can do it with other people and you can tap in. You see, the purpose of music for me is to tap into those emotions that we're struggling with, you know, and to get them out and look at them. You know, that's my job. I mean, if I can do a concert and I can see some people laughing and some people crying, then I think I've done a good job.
Absolutely.
On my team.
Absolutely. So recently we've had the Lionesses being triumphant in Europe, and I like watching sport, but for me, there are some anthems are better than others. Some are very military. For me, it's still the Welsh national anthem. When I hear the Welsh anthem sung in the Millennium Stadium for the rugby, it actually moves me to tears.
And of course, Welsh. Well, at least I'm not. But it's such a powerful, wonderful song.
It is,
and so it's just so uplifting. I mean, who's not going to win when you've sung that?
Well, it's not been working lately, I have to say.
I think it's the same with Jerusalem for the English.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a big cricket fan. And you will often find me with the Barmy Army Sadly, I'm going to have to miss the Oval this year, but I will be there singing Jerusalem at the top of my lungs.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. Certain anthems, certain songs just go with certain sports, don't they?
Yeah.
And I mean, You'll Never Walk Alone.
Yes, of course.
In Carousel.
Of course.
It's forever now. Well, for Liverpool, but also for Hillsborough, I think.
So who's best, the Welsh crowd or the Liverpudlian crowd? I mean.
Oh, I wouldn't dream of trying to separate them. They're
equally good.
Fabulous.
Equally good. Absolutely. Now, and you were awarded the CBE for services to music. That must have been a very proud moment as well.
Yes, that was very proud when the Queen herself pinned the medal onto my lapel and said, I would like to thank you for all that you have done for music in our country. That just takes your breath away.
Absolutely. And you thoroughly deserve it. Well done. You mentioned earlier that your health hasn't been in tip-top condition lately. Are you okay?
I'm absolutely fine.
What's been happening?
I had an interesting experience, I suppose you'd call it, which I'm happy to talk about because we need to raise awareness of this particular tumour that I have removed. It transpired that I had a tumour on my thymus gland, called a thymoma.
Right.
Which apparently is quite a rare tumour.
Yes.
Or have this tumour. Yeah. Very little is known about this tumour. It was found by accident when I had a scan for something else completely unrelated.
Right.
So apparently my husband tells me I'm the victim of medical information technology, or vomit.
Vomit, that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
I'm sure you're aware of that.
Yeah.
So they found this tumour on my thymoma.
Right.
And at first, this was just at the end of COVID, so things were a bit confused and, tricky in hospitals, which I completely understand. But they said, don't worry, it's we've looked it up and it's benign. You don't need to worry about it, but, we'll keep an eye on it. Anyway, about 18 months later, maybe 2 years actually, and I've not been back to see them. I think excuse me. I think they'd, I don't know, I think I'd perhaps not got onto the right list or something, but it doesn't matter. I noticed some changes in my voice. My larynx, my voice just wasn't working properly. It wasn't doing the things I was asking it to do. I went to my laryngologist and he said, your voice looks fine, Les, nothing wrong with that. And he's known my voice for 30 years. So I thought, I wonder if this thymoma, this tumour, has started to develop into something.
Well, we should just explain at this juncture that the thymus gland, little known gland, sits at the front of the chest, just behind the clavicles here, behind the sternum, the breastbone. And although it was benign, it can enlarge. It can become quite significantly large. Yes,
they did say there was the possibility it could grow, and that's why we should keep an eye on it. They said that it was a little bit lower than that. It was kind of very near the heart, on the pericardium, on the heart sat. And it just sat there. And the actual thymus gland isn't of any use when you're older. It's only, you could correct me if I'm wrong, Hilary, but they said it was only useful when you were a child because it helped to form T cells for the immune system.
Part of the immune system. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I went back to them and I said, look, there's something wrong with my voice. Do you think this tumour could be... Because as you were saying earlier, there are lots of the vagus nerve, lots of other nerves and muscles and things that govern the larynx pass through that area, don't they?
Yes.
So it was a hunch, really. Anyway, they said, look, since you last came to see us, we've looked into this further and the tumour's been recategorised worldwide and it's now considered one that should be removed because not only can it grow, but it can become malignant.
Okay.
So it's best if we take it out.
Sure.
That's what they told me. So they wanted to take it out straight away, which slightly alarmed me because I was about to go and do an opera at ENO. I was doing the role of Berta in The Barber of Seville and I didn't want to have to cancel that. So I said, do you think you could wait till after I've done my next opera? And they said, go on then.
Okay.
And they took it out the very next day, actually.
Wow.
And I had the most astonishing operation. I wish I could have been awake for it. That I was operated on with this robot called the Vinci robot.
Oh.
They introduced me to this robot and told me what it was going to do, and I was beyond excited because I'm very interested in medicine. If I hadn't done music, I'd have probably done something in the medical world.
Oh, right. Okay.
Because honestly, you'd laugh because my husband's as crazy about opera as I am about medicine. So he'll be sitting there reading my opera magazine and I'll be reading his BMJ.
Excellent.
It's really funny. So they deflated my right lung, and then they've made a couple of tiny incisions.
Yes.
And then the arms of this wonderful robot machine.
Yes.
Went in, and one arm had a little pair of scissors that cut round the tumour and the gland,
yes,
the whole thing, and then it picked it up with some tweezers, and they put it in a little bag.
Yeah.
Which is like, like Sainsbury's or like takeaway tumour, and they whipped it out of me, and just 2 stitches to sew up the little incisions, and I was home the next day. I was home within 24 hours.
Yeah.
It was the most wonderful,
Incredible.
wonderful care.
Yes.
I think. I'm sure everybody would benefit from that kind of care, but I do think that they were quite interested in the fact in the thymol because of its rarity value.
Yes, absolutely.
So I did get quite a lot of wonderful attention. And,
I bet.
And we're talking about UCLH, and I just want to thank them and sing their praises because their treatment was amazing. Right across the board. The nursing staff were fantastic, which is why I got home so soon.
Well, you've made an astonishing recovery. Good. I saw the Vinci robot in operation at the Royal Free quite recently, where they were taking a kidney out using similar things. So you obviously need your human doctors to put the tubes in.
Yes.
And then the surgeon who operates on you is on the other side of the operating theatre.
He was miles away.
Yes, he is. But he can see.
Green.
That's right.
Like he was doing a video game.
Yes, that's right. And it's just like using your hands on a video game, but he can see everything completely magnified.
Yes.
So that it's much more precise. It's much more controlled. There's less bleeding, less complications, and obviously you've been a benefactor of that, so that's great to hear.
And no complications, and he missed my vagus nerve by a mile.
Good.
You said it was huge.
Did your voice improve? Did you get back what you thought you'd lost?
Yes, I did, absolutely. And
Good.
It was funny because the anaesthetist that I hadn't realised it was because I'm Mrs. Christian when I'm in the NHS because it's my family name. And when he saw me, he said, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know it was you." He recognised me. So he said, "I might just need to take a second opinion on this."
Yeah, just to check.
So I phoned him the next day because he kindly gave me his phone number, and I was like, on the phone, and he was thrilled.
He was probably doubling his medical indemnity just in case. That's brilliant. So, what's interesting is you say, I went to see my laryngologist. So to somebody like you, who's a professional opera singer, soprano, do you regularly see an ear, nose and throat specialist to check the vocal cords are okay? You haven't got any singer's nodes on there?
I would say I probably historically have been to see my laryngologist more often than I've seen my GP.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah,
because of course it's like, well, it's a bit like a mechanic in a shop in a garage. He takes care of my work stuff.
Sure.
And keeps the oil gun going. And yes, I've been frequently because being an opera singer, being a top-notch opera singer is a bit like being an athlete, being a first-class athlete.
Yes.
And yes, you will have injuries, you will strain things, you will pull things, and you need to have, I suppose literally a mechanic. You need to have somebody who can diagnose what you've done and tell you what to do to fix it. And that therefore, my laryngologist, who also works at UCLH, is somebody who, he's on speed dial basically. He's Don Reuben, and I love him to death.
So you've probably had a few tubes down the nose and down the throat, and a bit of indirect laryngoscopy over the years.
Darling, if it exists, it's been up there and down there. It really has. No, it's but the technique's interesting. When I was a student and I had to have my larynx looked at, in the old days, they just pull your tongue out and stick a mirror to the back of your throat, and it was all very approximate and very uncomfortable. But now, as you say, it's all about fine observation through cameras on the ends of tubes that go up your nose and down your throat, and then you have to sing in a certain way so you can see how chords are coming together, the detail, and then he films it so I can see for myself. It's wonderful.
And it must be very distressing for any singer if they've got a concert coming up and suddenly they get a cold and they get a bit of laryngitis, they get a bit of phlegm on the vocal cords and they're losing their voice. It must be very distressing. I mean, how do singers like you deal with that if that happens?
Well, you learn to recognise when it's serious and when it's not serious. You learn to recognise when it's just a bit of phlegm and you need to go and steam and you need to drink more water because you perhaps are a little bit dehydrated. And there's a whole wonderful list of what we call vocal hygiene recommendations that the Royal National Throat, Nose and Ear Hospital, who I've worked with, identified and made available for singers, which involves things like, well, in the old days, avoid smoky atmospheres. That was the best day of my life when they banned smoking in public places. To always be careful on after long air travel, to rehydrate and to steam, to avoid spicy food, anything that will give you acid reflux, to take medication to prevent acid reflux. The thing about opera singers is the fact that our diaphragms are so powerful and press down on our stomachs so strongly can lead to acid coming back up the gullet. Can lead to a hiatus hernia. I do have a hiatus hernia myself, to be honest, and you have to be very careful what you eat before you sing for that reason.
Yes.
But at the same time, opera singing is immensely calorie using, so you can't not eat before you sing. It's a very athletic pursuit,
but it's a fine balance.
Yes, it's a fine balance, exactly. So there's, but if sometimes if you're just about to get a cold, and the larynx is just very slightly, mucous membranes are very slightly swollen, you will sing better, which is quite interesting, I always think. But and you can sing on a cold as long as it hasn't dropped. But the minute it goes on to what we call goes on to the larynx, whenever it's in the head, it's fine. It won't be comfortable for the singer, but it won't be noticeable to the audience. But the minute it drops and goes, the infection actually hits the larynx, then you have to stop. If you sing on that, you will really, really jigger yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, you mentioned you've got a hiatus hernia. This is where the top part of the stomach can actually push through the diaphragm into the lower part of the gullet. Do you take an anti-acid medication all the time for that? Yes,
omeprazole every night. And most singers I know do. It's just, what we have to do for our living, really.
Yeah.
But other medications I take, I would like to share with you because they're fantastically helpful to me as a singer and as a woman. I had a very, very early menopause. My children were, they were only 15 months apart, and Chloe was 6 months old, and I think Jeremy had just turned 2, and I went into full-blown menopause. So I was 40, 41, something like that. And I couldn't function. It was the symptoms were just so powerful, and I certainly couldn't sing. So I went to see a wonderful gynecologist. Gynecologist, thank you, who specialised in voices. He worked with Mr. Rubin and Mike Sabas, he was called. I don't know if he's still operating, but he was absolutely wonderful. And he prescribed HRT. And I've been on HRT now for 25 years. And it works for me. I can only talk for myself, but for me as a woman, immediately the symptoms were resolved and I was able to be the person I had been before. I just felt like I was a completely different human being. And I think a lot of women suffer this.
Yes.
And
of course.
I feel it's helped with my bone density. I feel it's helped with a lot of other health-related issues, but the main thing is it's allowed me to carry on singing because my mucous membranes have remained in as they always were.
Yes, that's fantastic to hear. And we are getting much better at treating menopausal symptoms in those women who need treatment.
Yes.
There's still a lot of controversy about HRT, but there shouldn't be, because when it's used appropriately, as you say, it doesn't just treat the physical symptoms, but the psychological ones as well. And it can completely change somebody's life from feeling low and miserable and moody into going back to normal quite dramatically.
I think for me it was the panic. When I felt a hot flush come on, was consumed with panic, and I had no control over it. It was entirely organic. It was entirely physical, and I just thought I can't function as a mum to two tiny children, and as an opera singer. I mean, I was really charging on at that point. I'd just got my first TV series, and I just thought, I don't want this to interrupt my life. Now, look, I want to stress, this is just my experience. Not for everybody.
Sure.
I really admire my friends who've gone through the menopause without needing any help at all. And believe me, if I could have done that, I would have.
Sure. Well, you're absolutely right to say that, because every woman's experience of the menopause is different. And we've now identified nearly 50 symptoms, not just the common ones that some people know about, but lots of other ones as well, including brain fog and, forgetfulness and memory loss, that sort of thing. So thank you for sharing that. And in the past, have you had any other major surgical or medical interventions that you can talk about?
Let me think. Well, I had a very bad experience when I was doing the rise and fall of the city of Mahagoni at the Colosseum, when I popped a blood vessel in my larynx on this side.
Gosh.
Flooded the larynx with blood.
Oh.
It was a hideous sight when Mr. Rubin finally put the camera down and we had a look. That was a bit touch and go. We did think I might just, possibly lose my career at that point.
I bet.
He got me through it. It was wonderful. And of course, he works hand in hand with the speech therapy department, because speech therapy and singing are really, they work hand in hand. Often for instance, in that case, I found I wasn't supporting my speaking voice properly, as I do my singing voice naturally, and I had to learn how to do that. And I'm doing that now. I'm sitting up straight. I'm breathing with conscious effort, or consciously, not accidentally.
Yes.
And I'm pitching my voice high, and I'm speaking as if I was public speaking.
Yes.
And if you're on a stage, that's what you must do. I mean, increasingly, my career was going towards music theatre, which requires quite a lot of speaking. So that was a tough lesson. I hadn't been doing that properly. I'd also been in a very cold dressing room that was air conditioned, and then I'd gone onto stage, which was steamy and hot. It was a hot summer, and those two things combined caused this little blood vessel to pop. So that was a tough lesson to learn.
I bet.
But there's one thing that happened to me that I could share with you if you're interested.
I am. That's why I'm here.
Accident once. This is quite a funny story. I had a car accident once with my husband. We were driving back from the London Colosseum. I just finished doing La Boheme, and we were near our cottage in Yorkshire, because where I come from, I've got a cottage so I can be near my family. And we had a big smash up on a motorway intersection with a chap who was coming around the motorway intersection the wrong way on the roundabout.
Wow.
And I ruptured my sternum, and I broke a load of ribs.
That's bad.
And that was pretty bad.
That's bad.
And the local press got to hear about it. And the local Epworth Bells, I think it was, our village. We live in a village called Epworth. And the headline was, Doncaster Diva dices with death. That's when the Doncaster Diva was born.
Now, I met Peter, your lovely GP husband, at the Remembrance service, and I know that he did a hell of a lot during the pandemic, didn't he? And he got a great deal of recognition for his services.
Well, all doctors did. They were all heroes to me. But of course, especially Peter. He worked so hard. He did. He did a lot of work in the community, online actually, with some groups of people were a bit reticent about taking the vaccine, I think, as you probably know. And he was determined to reach out to those groups to reassure them that it was safe. And the religious leaders, the various imams and other religious leaders, were very, very helpful in making that possible. But my favourite one was a group of Baptists. We've got quite a few Baptist churches near us. And knowing how fond the Baptist community are of singing, Peter said, "Would you just help me with this?" He used to do a sort of like a little talk to them, and he said, "Would you just help me with this, love, with this?" Just do a little bit of singing just to get the mood right. So I said, "Of course I can, love. What about Amazing Grace? Do you think they'd like that?"
Lovely.
So I got the biggest sing-song going. We did Amazing Grace. We moved on to everything you can imagine. And Peter didn't actually have to say very much. And they all turned up and had their injections the next day. So that was a big success.
So what's next for you, Lesley? What have you got coming up?
Well, I did consider retiring. And then I thought,
no, you can't.
It's just boring, isn't it?
Absolutely. You've got too much to offer.
You know what you were saying about, when did I first become an opera singer? I think singing is not something I do. It's sort of who I am. I am a singer, and I can't not be a singer. It's my entire identity. Is as a, not perhaps just as a singer, but as an entertainer, as a communicator. I love communicating.
Yeah.
I love communicating with music. So, and I always said I'd stop singing when people stopped asking. And to my delight and enormous gratitude, people are still asking. So
good.
I'm very busy with my Bantam of the Opera Choir that I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And we're going to be performing again together soon. But my next project is with Northern Ireland Opera, with whom I am making my debut at the age of 70. Oh, yes, I hate to tell you, but in your introduction, you said I've been at it for 35 years. It's actually 45 years.
Oh, right. We'll correct that.
And still going strong. So anyway, Northern Ireland Opera have asked me to sing in their new production of Sondheim's Follies. And I'm very, very excited about that.
Wonderful.
I've sung often in Belfast, but I've never sung with Northern Ireland Opera. So
brilliant.
I'm going to be singing with a pal of mine, the wonderful Jackie Dankworth. And while we're all here, can we raise a glass to her fabulous mum, who's just passed away, the great Theo Lane.
Yes.
We're just talking recently.
Yeah.
She's still going to perform, and we're glad we're going to be together. So I think that'll be great.
That's wonderful. This is probably a daft question because you've sung so many things. But do you have a favourite opera or favourite aria from any opera? If you had to choose one or two, what would they be?
That's a difficult question.
I know.
I've got two favourite roles, actually. One is the Cunning Little Vixen of Janacek, when I played the Vixen with Keras conducting. That for me was the perfect opera. It took a creature, this fox, me, it took her life and went right from birth to death, and every milestone, like falling in love, first of all becoming a kind of radical terrorist, and then falling in love, having cubs, and being killed defending those cubs. And it's all over in an hour and a half, which to me is a perfect opera length. Yeah. That is a great favourite of mine because it's very physical. I really love moving. That's why I've not always been very good at recital work, because and even if I do recital work, I have to move about. But my other all-time favourite was an opera called Pleasure, which was written for me by Mark Simpson, commissioned by Opera North. And that was about 5 years ago now, I think I did that. And I played a lavatory attendant in a gay club. My name was Val, so a very glamorous role.
Okay.
And it was involved also multitasking. I actually had to clean the toilets while I was singing.
Okay.
And I remember, and it was just a wonderful piece. It was just the perfect piece of totally accessible modern opera.
Yeah.
And it involved a fascinating sound world, unique to the piece, and it was just a fantastic piece. And I wish somebody would do it again. But what I loved about it was my sister, who comes to see everything I do. I have two sisters; they both come. They're wonderfully supportive, and my sister was looking very puzzled all the time I was doing it. And I said to her afterwards, I said, "Did you not enjoy the show, love?" I said, was it not your cup of tea? And she said, no, I thought it was really good. She said, but I was just a bit puzzled, when you were doing the cleaning. I said, well, why? She said, well, you didn't get under the rim, did you? And that really bothered me.
Well, if that's all you weren't doing, you didn't do too bad. That's brilliant. That's very funny. How do you keep fit? I mean, I know that your breathing and your singing probably keeps you very fit. But do you do anything else? Do you walk? Do you?
Yes, I like walking. Very much like walking. Although I have two sorts of walking. I've got a treadmill, and if I want to do exercise, I walk on my treadmill because fast walking, I find, especially now I'm 70, I risk tripping and falling, and I have tripped and fallen. So now, if I'm doing my walking for exercise, I will use my treadmill, but walking for pleasure is something else. That's strolling and enjoying. We're lucky to live near woods, Peter and I. We're in North London, we're near the Heath, and I think that's there's two elements to walking. One is enjoying the surroundings and from a mental and emotional point of view, from a mental health point of view, and the other is being able to work up sweat, which is a different kind of exercise.
Yeah. Well, I can't really believe you're 70. You look amazing. You really do. So absolutely. So thank you so much for sharing that part of your life with us today. It's been absolutely fascinating. Carry on singing. Don't ever stop. We need you. Thank you for sharing your story about your health. That's been fascinating.
I wanted just to add one little thing, just to finish up, finish that story about my thymoma.
Yes.
When they took it away to histology to be biopsied, it had started growing. It had. And somehow my little body knew it and told me to go. And
that is yes.
Feel your body.
Listen to your body. That's so true. Before you go, remember to subscribe on YouTube now so you don't miss what's coming next. We'll continue the conversation about your health and focus on what truly matters to you. And for more information and show notes on all our programs, go to drhilaryjones.com.